Hi everyone, welcome to today's episode of Shagalinko TV. My name is Ambassador Emmanuel Gabari, and it's good to have all of you here. For those who will be watching after the program, you are also welcome to the show. So today we have our guest, Dr. Olayinka Egbokhare. She's the head Biomedical Communication Center, College of Medicine, University of Ibadan. And then she's an author, a trained facilitator, and so many parts to her. So we're looking at 16 days of activism and also looking at media and GBV reporting. Have they done well? What are they not doing well? How can they improve? What's the way forward? And we'll also delve into a bit of what our guest has been doing or has done before, and then we just bring it up here. So, once again, we're streaming in three destinations: Shagalinko TV, Facebook page, Shagalinko TV YouTube page, and also my personal page, Ambassador Emmanuel Gabari. And let me also say that the videos and the everything, all the discussions will also be there after the program. So you can also play back, share with your friends and loved ones, and keep the conversations going. So let me welcome my guest, and then we will take the discussions from there. Good evening, Ma, and welcome to Shagalinko. It's good to have you, Ma.
Thank you, Ambassador Emmanuel. Good evening. It's my pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So take us through a little of what your work entails, basically at the Uni Ibadan. And then how are you able to juggle also being an author? We'll come to that book, but just take us through how you are able to juggle through everything you do, man.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much for asking me to come on the show. Presently, I head the Biomedical Communication Center of the College of Medicine, University of Ibadan. And at the same time, I lecture in the Department of Communication and Arts at the University of Ibadan. The question about how I juggle these two major roles is a question I've also been asking myself. And let's just say I try to make sure that there's a balance. I don't skip my classes in university. And as much as possible, I do my best to oversee the activities of the Biomedical Communication Center. And the activities there are so many, but one thing that keeps me going is I have a good team and it's very interesting. Thank you.
Wow. Okay. So tell us a little about the book. It's not the usual thing you get to find an author from your background, for authors or people in the academics, what we'll be seeing is something else on maybe how to put reports together, how to do your thesis, how to write this and that. But you took on a very important aspect, what was the passion when you were writing that? And because that subject is also something you don't get to talk about all of the time. Maybe you find where maybe when couples want to get married and they're asked to do tests, or some parents even just discover later on in life that maybe one of their child is this and that. But what was in your mind when you were trying to put pieces and bits of the book together? And why did you even choose that?
Thank you very much. The truth of the matter is this. I wrote Dazzling as an undergraduate project in 1991. And the attempt was to find a way. Okay, my first degree is in communication and they tried to tell us to look for different ways of disseminating information. So my main objective in writing that book was to find a way of documenting relevant information about sickle cell anemia using the novel as a platform. So I had to do a lot of research and interview some people who have the sickle cell anemia, condition. I interviewed their doctors. I interviewed pathologists. I read different kinds of. So the objective was to create awareness about sickle cell anemia, especially because there are so many misconceptions and so many how do I put it now? There are so many myths and taboos about sickle cell anemia. There are so many unfounded information flying around about sickle cell anemia. For instance, many times we used to hear people say, "Oh, they did not live this long or die in infancy," and all. So my aim was to get to the condition, present it exactly for what it is, and see how to sensitize people about how to avoid getting into relationships that would increase the number of with this condition. And I dare say it's been a very successful attempt because sometime in 2013, 2014, um, Tunde Kelani, a very highly respected cinematographer in Nigeria, decided to make a film out of the book. So there's a film version of Dazzling Mirage presently available on Netflix, and it's a good thing to see that people are getting sensitized about what sickle cell anemia is. Fortunately, my present work as head of the communication center also allows me to do a lot of work in population studies, different health conditions, stroke, neurobanking, mental health, reproductive health, and so many other.
Oh, well, thank you so much for sharing. So let's even come to the topic of discussion. Every year, the world commemorates 16 days of activism. And just when we think there's so much work that has been done already, you wake up every morning and sadly you're realizing that so much is still happening when it comes to either gender-based violence, either rape or partner violence or whatever. You're still seeing more women being abused or in abusive relationships. You still see young girls, children being raped, and you're wondering, is it that we're not doing enough, or is it that we're doing like one step forward and 50 steps backwards? What basically comes to your mind every year when we celebrate the 16 days of activism? Before I will even come, let's x-ray media and the reportage. What comes to your mind every 16 days of activism period?
Thank you very much. Recently, I was in a panel, and someone said, "Why is it that we do not report male gender violence? And why is it that we always present GBV as something that is only about women?" And one of the things I said was, maybe unless this has changed in recent times, even the dictionary defines gender-based violence as violence against women. So yes, there is some measure of gender-based violence against women, but because of the power structure involved, there is more gender-based violence against women. It is more about violence against women. And the question about whether it's on the increase is another question that's as frequently come up. Sometimes people say it's always been with us and that the magnitude has always been high, but that now we have more reporting, especially because of the availability of social media as a platform. So there's self-reporting, there's citizen journalism, and a lot more people are talking about what is happening. And maybe this is why it looks as if it is more common. So it's in newspapers, we hear the reports. So a lot of the times it does appear like it's on the people. And then we wonder too, with all the information circulating, with all the efforts at enacting the law, why are people still perpetrating this evil? Why do minors still get assaulted? why do we still have so much of violence, happening in relationships, in marriages, and all that? So it's something that a lot of research is going on to ascertain what is responsible. One major factor has been poverty. Another factor is the issue of lack of sensitization about the situation. So many people are perpetrating this evil, and people are keeping quiet. People are enduring. There are also sociocultural beliefs that engender this. There are religious notions too, and sanctions. You hear things like God hates divorce. People quote the scripture and say that. So they tell you rather than get out of a relationship that is life threatening, just stay there. And they give reasons. They say, oh, stay because of your children, stay because
Right. Yeah.
tell mothers who tell their daughters, look, every marriage is like that. Do you know what I went through with your father too? Just stay and all
Yeah.
of that. It's it's a cultural thing. It's embedded in our religious beliefs. And the good thing is that there's so much discussion going on around it, and hopefully things will start to change.
Yes, now that you talked about mother to daughter, it's always worrisome, when parents tell their children. I've had encounters where some ladies who've suffered abuse in their marriages say, I can't even go back to my father's house because the day he was collecting bride price, he categorically told me
Mm,
and my mom that, look, there's no spare room in this house. And that
mm,
is building on the psyche of the people because a lot of people, like you said, have also they've also died in abusive relationship where they also think, okay, the other partner will change. Let's even talk about this. That why,
mm,
aside poverty and a few cultural norms and beliefs, why do people still stay? Because the truth is, I tell women that the children you are claiming as excuse why you're staying put, the moment you die, there's another woman somewhere warming up and tying her bags and gele already, waiting to move in. So if truly it's for the children, why won't you stay alive and be able to take care of your children? So are there maybe researches or are there things you still feel
yeah.
there are hidden reasons why women stay put in abusive relationships?
Thank you very much. We'll still need to go back to the issue of poverty. There are some women who stay because they're afraid of how they're going to cope with living expenses if they leave the convenience or comfort of their homes. So when women are not empowered, when women do not have a regular source of livelihood, then chances are that many times they will stay because of the fear of how to survive. Another thing is that we do not have enough support system in the larger society. You just cited an instance where brides are told, whether on their wedding, during the traditional wedding, that they don't have rooms again in their parents' homes. So there's a lot of stigma surrounding um, women who leave their marriages. Sometimes people don't even want to know why you left. There are so many of our traditional sayings that seem to put all the faults at the door of the woman. There's a Yoruba proverb that says, "Obìnrin sọ̀wà ní ó lóun ò lórí ọkọ." In essence, it's a woman who lacks character that will not be able to stay in her husband's house and will say, oh, it's because I'm not lucky in marriage. There are so many reasons why relationships break up, and we should stop victimizing the victim by making women feel they are responsible when marriages break up. Then there are also many people that, we talk about empathy. You can only feel something that you've experienced. So there are times that people who have never experienced gender-based violence are usually the first to tell you that it's hard to tell somebody to stay when you don't know what she's coping with, when you've not been in her shoes, when you don't know So because people don't know the consequences of this gender-based violence, they don't know how many people have ended up with depression, with mental health challenges, because they've lived in abusive relationships. They do not know how many people have died in their marriages without maybe any forensic evidence showing what led to their death, you know. Sometimes you do not even know the cause of death. We don't know how many children are traumatized because they've seen their parents slug it out, because every day they've seen so much violence that they think is a way of life. So we would keep talking about this, we'll keep letting people know the after effects of violence in the home, and we'll keep hoping that the information will go round and people will know how to handle this situation. Oftentimes, they tell us that the first person a woman who is going through gender-based violence speaks to is very important in the equation. So if she speaks to someone who is knowledgeable and who knows some of the support systems available, then chances are that she'll get the kind of help she needs. But if she speaks to someone who is cast in the old mode of, oh, don't leave your marriage and wait it out and then wait because of your children, then I pray that we do not have an unfortunate situation where the woman stays until she's beaten to death. And maybe I should quickly say this too. I don't believe that when gender based violence ends in death, I don't believe that the spouse that is responsible for killing the other person actually sets a date to kill the spouse. It's
It's a
cumulative
gradual
and
process.
it's dealing someone, yes, it's dealing someone a wrong blow on a fateful day. So the fact that people have been fighting for 8 years, for 10 years, for 15 years, and nothing happened does not mean that there won't be a day that will be the eventual day. And we don't have to keep waiting for that day to come if we can avoid it.
Okay. So now that you even talked about that, let's look at before we even go to media and how they report, let's even look at, because you mentioned something very vital about the society, the norms, the beliefs that people have. What are our
Mm,
religious leaders also doing? You know, because aside, if people or if couples scale through having parents who are open-minded, who also tell you, you know, you can always talk to daddy and mommy, you know, you can always
yeah,
come back to us and let's know what's happening. You know, we can always sit at a round table and discuss this. What about the religious circles where, like the proverb you also made, some women can't even talk in church or in their religious places because fellow women will even be the ones to tell her or mock her, now because of your bad character now make your husband pursue you, and it's so
mm,
demeaning and then rubbing it off on the woman because people may not have known what she went through. So what
that's
is the
true.
place of religious circles, religious leaders, and our beliefs? Because you can't take it from us as Africans and Nigerians. My friend will always say from London that we are more Africans and Nigerians are even more religious than where it comes from. So, what are some of the things that our religious circles should begin to do? I saw a video of one man of God who was actually addressing this issue and saying, if he hits you once, madam, just know that there might be a second and a third, and don't hold on.
Mm,
Say something. What do you think, ma?
mm. Thank you very much. So one, I'm going to speak from the perspectives of Christianity. So one popular scripture that people quote is in Malachi, and it says, "God hates divorce." Now, the Bible tells us in so many places that God hates violence and He hates violent people. So we need to balance scriptures. We need to balance scriptures. I remember a lady once told us she had been facing spousal abuse, and she made up her mind to quit. And people started quoting these scriptures about God hates divorce to her. And she said, yes, God hates divorce, but He hates violence more. I mean, it couldn't have been put more succinctly. She said that because she knew what she was going through. So it's not about us judging people and telling them stay there and die. When you exchanged vows on your wedding day, you said till death do us part. Yes, we say that in sickness and in health, till death do us part. But that statement does not mean till either of us kills each other. You know, it's not death through our own hands. It's not death because of misunderstanding. It's not death because of rage. It's not death because we cannot cope with because the two people in the marriage cannot work things out or are always at each other's neck. No. So people should know when to seek help and people should know where to seek help and people should stop hiding. Now we need to sensitize our religious organizations, and the need to sensitize them is because they need to be in a position to say the right thing always. Because if they don't say the right thing, they may end up creating a problem for the people. If they give the wrong counsel, if they give the wrong advice, if they tell someone, stay there and then we'll keep praying for you, God will help you. They should look also for the scripture that talks about the need for separation, even if it's for a while. We should not advocate what we cannot, what we don't have control over. So, as much as possible, our focus should be on what we can do to help both partners, both the abuser and the abused, so as to avoid um, something that would lead to death or permanent damage. So there's a lot the religious organizations can do, but they need to be better informed about the challenges of gender-based violence and how to handle them. It's not just about quoting scriptures at somebody. It's about helping them to get needed help, needed counsel from people that are trained to offer these services, and probably to offer shelter. You know, if we have a situation on our hands, then people in the congregation can offer shelter. They can take the children in, they can take the husband in, they can take the wife in until peace is restored. This is very important.
Mm. Thank you so much, ma'am. So let's even come to the media. Um, I know a lot of times when the searchlight is beamed on the media, people say the media is actually a true reflection of the society. I mean, they will report what sells, what is in vogue. Very few times are there opportunities where maybe investigative journalism or other forms of media is even encouraged? If you take the hierarchy of what people watch or listen to, politics rates higher, followed by maybe entertainment, music, sport, music, maybe movies, and then it trickles down to people barely even talk about women issues, sexual reproductive health and rights, and all of that. The top first three is maybe politics, music, entertainment, and sports. So,
Mm,
what is the media not doing enough before we even come to what they are doing? Is it that
mm,
maybe some of the movies or films that we watch also promote a lot of violence and not really celebrating women, where the typical Nigerian or African man sees a woman as a possession? I also know there are this um, talks and debates about dowry payment, where the African man just feels that, okay, when they even talk, even in police stations, when we sometimes go to report these issues, you find a man boasting in front of the police that, now my wife, now me pay a dowry. And we're like, so she's your dog that you now latch with a rope and then she
mm.
doesn't have a right of her own. What is the media not doing well and what can we do better?
Hmm. Ambassador, if we start this topic about the media's role, we will not end this um, show because there are so many things that the media can do, so many. And there are so many things that we're doing wrong. There are so many things that we've not been able to get right. We were working on research in the recent past, trying to look at how um, radio stations in Ibadan, how radio stations report gender-based violence. And what we found was appalling. There's a lot of voyeurism, almost, reading the news as entertainment, using euphemism, cracking jokes. And I'm not talking about male reporters alone. There were instances where even female reporters used, slang, used playful language to report even the rape of underaged people. And what was their excuse? I don't want to name the programs, but there are so many of them in Yoruba language in radio stations in Ibadan. The way they would report would almost encourage a kind of repeat of the assaults, almost like they are celebrating what has happened, or almost like just detailing a sexual experience. So if care is not taken, we will have copycat crimes. We would have people who would think this was something fun and will carry it out. Then why should you be reporting the rape of a child and talking about the different ways in which this child was assaulted? Who is helped by such details? And under what circumstance would you be reporting gender-based violence and find something funny to say, or use porn, or use playful words or language? It is a serious matter. Another thing that has been observed is that many times, even the reports that are read do not detail the process of redress. So oftentimes the crime is reported, but there's not sufficient time spent on reporting how the abuser was dealt with, how the law or the full force of the law was brought to bear on the abuser. So if we report a crime and we do not report the consequences, then we make it look as if we are glossing over the crime, or we are more interested in just celebrating the crime. So it's important for us to keep emphasizing. For instance, the recent case in Lagos involving the doctor who abused a minor and got a life sentence. It is expected that when reports are detailed, when they are full, people will know that there are consequences. Another major problem, and maybe I should just quickly say this, although it doesn't have to do with the media, is the fact that people are afraid of being stigmatized. So sometimes, even when you report cases of gender-based violence, either rape or assault, members of the family will be the ones to come and beg and say you want your face to be splashed over the newspaper, you want social media to carry your news, just bear your shame in silence, and God will help you. It's a pass. And do you know how many people have suffered such things? And if you tell people, that's how they will, it is like that for their eyes to speak Yoruba English. They say, oh, that's how they will now be seeing you, you know. So many people would rather bear the shame in silence for fear of being again victimized. So it's something that we need to address. Then let's look at Nollywood films. We've had a few very instructive films that talked about gender-based violence and situationed it or positioned it in a way that talked about the consequences and how to avoid it. But we've also had many films that seemed to gloss over it or seemed to entrench it as a cultural thing. You know, you have things like if you've not beaten a woman once, she will not know her place. Or sometimes it's a woman that the husband loves that the husband will beat. I mean, what? What are we talking about here? And then we show examples of people having a misunderstanding in the family setup, and before you know what's happening, somebody is slapping the other, and we make it look like the norm. Can't we write scripts that will promote, um, positive ways of conflict resolution? We have relationships where people don't slap one another. Can't we play those ones up and play down the other types in which people beat one another up over arguments? So there is a lot the media can do and do right too. But then again, maybe we need to sensitize the media too. We need people to know the right thing to say, who to say it to, why they need to keep pushing what is right, and why they need to be sensitive about what they put out for people to consume.
Mhm. Okay. I have two more questions before we go, but I need you to promise us that we need to bring you back because something rolling in my mind now is where people don't talk much about rape and the aftermath of rape. And that will bring me
Mm,
to the issue of unsafe abortion, but that will be for another edition because we- you said something about people just hush hush. Parents will tell you, "Oh no, don't do this. Let's kill it within us." There's been even issues where we've worked with feeder, and then we get back there the next day. The parents either have collected money from the perpetrator
mm,
or the perpetrator is using his veto power or being an influential or wealthy person and either giving them money or threatening them. And they come back and tell you, they will even call their daughter and ask her, ah, did anybody rape you? She will say no. He said,
mm,
no, we didn't tell you
mm,
anything like that. And then
mm,
so another part where I think we will need to unbundle when we bring you eventually, if you have time, is as on this still same on safe abortion. Women, a lot of
yeah.
women we've noticed enable their husbands when it comes to rape issues. Take for instance the house girls. A lot of
Mm,
women in the madams, when they hear the house girls are being violated, the best thing or the
mm,
first thing they do is just take her to the village, send her back to the village.
mm,
You don't know
mm,
what happens to
mm.
that pregnancy. The girl will
Yes.
give birth later, and that child might go and get married or become go into a relationship with two biological children might just meet someday. And so we're not looking
Mm,
at some of the
mm,
aftermath
mm,
effects, the psychological trauma that you even talked about earlier on, that is not until someone dies in a marriage. But I want us to also talk about that maybe next time. But since we're doing 16 days of activism, I will just ask two more questions and maybe we'll wrap up. You talked a whole lot about some of these things that go on. Do you also think there's a place where people begin to learn positive masculinity? Because whether we like it or not, children who are being raised up now are also doing exactly the things their parents or the husbands who were complaining of that were doing gender-based violence are doing. Mothers will
mm,
tell their daughters who are even 15 years that, don't you know your brother of 5 years is the man of the house? And so they let
mm.
him sit with daddy in the parlor and watch TV, while the girl of 15, who is even 10 years older than her younger brother,
Yeah.
is sweating it out in the kitchen. And it gives him that leverage and grows up and sees
Mm,
a female or his wife as any object. After all, it started from the home front. What can we do to stop this trend of maybe negative masculinity and then build boys or raise boys who will also value women generally? And you see it play out everywhere. Men who raise like that, when they get into a boardroom meeting where there's no decorum or laws, you see a man tell a woman, shut up, you are just a woman. Do you
mm,
not have your type at home?
mm.
And it's annoying,
Yeah.
you know.
Thank you very much. So it's something really very important for us to look at, and it's hydra-headed. Um, I've seen a situation where a little boy got to school. This is nursery or the early primary school, got late to school, and the class teacher asked him, "Why did you come late today?" And he said, "Oh, my daddy was beating my mommy, and he just gave her one blow, Bwah! Then he gave her another blow, Bwah! And she fell on the floor and was crying, my head." And of course, left to him, he could not even express compassion for the mom that she was being beaten. And it's most likely that was not the first time he was saying that. Now, this same child, most likely, will bully people in his class. He won't see anything wrong in beating other children up, male or female. He won't see anything wrong in getting into a fight. And he may just grow up to think it is normal and it is permissible to beat a woman around if she says the wrong thing. We need to socialize our boys to know that this same woman is like your mom, is like your sister. And if you won't have anybody beating your sister or beating your mom, then you should not beat your wife. And what you said about, mommy in the kitchen, cooking rice, and daddy in the parlor watching football, and brother too in the parlor watching football, things are changing. I mean, look at the Japa syndrome. Look at the number of Nigerians who have um, killed their wives abroad, spousal homicide. Look at the issue of rage. We need people to start to know that if you contribute to, you know, the mess in the home, then you have to contribute to the cleaning. If you have a mouth and you eat, then you have to learn how to cook. Because now we have dual income families. We have women working the same hours, if not more, as their husbands. So we're not talking about women being equal to men or what have you. We're talking about equity here. We're talking about the need for one to show love to the other. If we're working the same number of hours, then if you really love your spouse, you don't need to be told to lend a hand so that one, the food can be done quicker. Two, she does not end up finishing cooking and being too tired to eat or even to do any other thing. We need to learn how to show love. We need to learn how to strike a balance in the home and make everyone to be responsible. We need to teach our boys how to cook, how to clean the house. We need to teach them how to be responsible in terms of domestic activities in the home. So it's not about, so you face your studies, you are going to be the breadwinner. Women are also winning bread now. So sorry, it's not as it used to be when maybe mothers just stayed at home and were full-time homemakers. We need everyone to contribute and we need everyone to be caring. I don't see a better way of showing someone you love them than by making their task to be light. A situation where you allow the woman to do virtually everything doesn't show love. It shows selfishness. We need to raise our boys to not just show self-care to themselves, they need to show love to their spouses by being there for them and learning how to assist. It's not just about asking, what can I help you to do? It's about actually getting up and doing things. That's love.
Mm. Wow, that's love truly. So I'll ask this last one. As we wrap up 16 days of activism, which will be ending in a couple of days from now, where is the place of women supporting women? Because we've only looked at women supporting women from the angle of maybe politics, business, and all of that. We're not also seeing the side where, take for instance, widowhood. You'll find that it is the
Hmm.
umwada, the Umadas, the very elderly women in the community that we drag that woman out, even when the men are appealing that let's leave this, let's leave it for God. It's the women that we drag the woman out and say you must drink the water that comes from washing the cups of your late husband to prove your innocence. Even when we look at female genital mutilation, it is still the mothers who will, even when the fathers may want to say, let's leave this, is okay, is the mothers that will say, you don't want me to go to my women group, and talk there, because if my
Mm,
daughter is not
mm,
circumcised, I can't talk in the women group because they will tell me that my daughter is not still a full grown woman. Where do we begin to
mm,
draw that line? Where we begin to have more female mentors like you are, who talk to young girls, who raise the, because we're also not looking at the academics of our young girls. A lot of girls still get married off after secondary school. You know, they use them
mm,
as exchange for properties. Many
mm,
men who have more girls just in their visual mind, like, oh, this one at least she will give me 500 naira, 500,000 naira as bride price. The other one will give me this. They encourage their girls to go source for suitors who are rich to elevate them from poverty. But God has also given women that that I won't say power, but as a mother, as the custodian, how can we even use
mm,
this slogan of women supporting women in the right way
mm,
to end widowhood practices, gender-based practice? You still find mothers who secretly still sneak their daughters to go do FGM, you know, and say, ah, it's for your
mm,
good, oh. You know, you will not give
mm,
birth well, oh, and all of that. As we wrap up, what do you have to
mm.
say about this?
Thank you very much. So there are a lot of these situations that are embedded in our socialization, the way we were raised, the way we are raising the new generation. But one good thing is that more awareness is being created around these conditions. People are writing books, people are writing scripts, people are engaging on social media, people are using their faith based platforms. I mean, I've been invited to churches to speak on gender based violence. I mean, yes, during the service. And, the more we have women engaging, the more we remove the covering on these issues and bring them to limelight and talk about them, the more we get to the root of the matter. And then, we can even start from our homes. If you are empowered, if you are well informed, then you make sure that your daughters, your sons are also well informed. Then you use every available platform. I remember speaking to a lady some years back. She was facing gender based violence. She was being battered, and she spoke to me, and I mentioned to her a place she could go to seek counsel and help. And she whispered to me that could I say it to the hearing of the wife of a pastor. So I said, "Oh, you want affirmation." I needed her to know that look, this is your life. And if you're going to wait for people to rub you on the head or pat you on the back or encourage you to go, you may not get that. But I still went on and I told the pastor's wife that I've recommended to this person to go to this particular group to seek help. And guess what the pastor's wife told me? Said instead of you to advise your friend to change her behavior and learn to behave well. So, and unfortunately, that happens to be one day that, there are times that you weigh your words before you speak them. I didn't weigh my words. All I said was, Ma, is it because of your good behavior that pastor does not beat you? That was all I told her. I said, you are such a perfect wife. That's why you don't do anything wrong. That's why pastor does not beat you. Of course, she didn't say anything. Maybe if I'd thought about it, I would not have said it, but I'm happy I said it because, I mean, someone had scars on her body, and all you can say is tell her to behave well. Of course, we would need to talk about how to respond, how not to respond. Because personally, I tell people somebody is about to beat you, you don't stand there, run for your life. And you too, if you know what triggers the fight, maybe it's someone that does not like you to respond in a particular way, don't look for trouble by responding in that way. Eh, You know, conflict resolution is not as if you now go and hold somebody's shirt in the morning and say, like they do in Yoruba films, "Wàá pa mí lénìí, wàá pa mí lénìí, you will kill me today." If you hold somebody's neck and say he will kill you and he starts slapping you around, I mean, how do you even go back to tell the story? So, yes, there's a place of working on ourselves not to instigate fights. There's a place of working on how we resolve conflicts in the home. But there's also the place of knowing when to run for dear life. There's no point to be made by staying there and becoming a martyr and letting people now use you for discussion on social media. And then everybody, people that are not as wise as you, people that are wiser, everybody now becomes a master over your matter just because you did not take the right steps. So seek help, and don't leave it until too late. There's more to life than staying on in a marriage that is killing you gradually.
Wow. I wish I could go on and on and on. But there's something we do on the show here. We give our guest a minute or two. Um, we know that whatever work they are doing, they have support mechanisms, they have family, friends, organizations, even their workplace, people from their workplace who also support and help them um, become more productive and proactive. So we give our guests a minute or two to celebrate people, organizations, family, friends, colleagues who have always been there for them. So as we wrap up now, your time starts now, Ma. Who and who would you like
Hmm.
to greet? Who are your support mechanisms that you want to really appreciate, Ma?
I wish you had hinted me about this so that I would come with a long list. But first, I would like to appreciate the women who have taught me to be bold, to stand up for myself, and top on the list to be my mother, Ujoyola Folabi. She started a school after retirement, and she's outspoken, she's bold, and she's hardworking. I also want to appreciate Professor Abiola Odejide, my mentor, and she's the one who's taught me most of the things I know about gender, and I've worked with her on different projects. She's the one who founded the Gender Mainstreaming Office of the University of Ibadan and developed the gender policy and the sexual harassment policy of the University of Ibadan. I want to celebrate Dr. Beatrice learning. She supervised my BA, MA, PhD. She's the mother, a friend, and a great encourager. I want to celebrate Professor Olayinka Omigbodun. She's the first female provost, College of Medicine, University of Ibadan, and she's doing very great work. She currently runs a project called Arise and Win, and is centered on empowering young women entrepreneurs. And it's a beautiful project, and it's one of many such projects. It's something she does in relations to helping women to maintain their mental health and to thrive. And she has many similar projects. I also want to celebrate the beautiful women I work with in my home church, Chapel of the Resurrection. I work in the children's department, and we have these women who Sunday after Sunday come to take care of other people's children, nurture them, make friends with them, and just make life easy for them. I want to celebrate my husband, Professor Francis Egbokhare, who lets me be. It's easy to come out and say some of these things when you know that you're going back home to someone who understands you and who gives you room to do well. I appreciate him for making the home environment safe and a happy place to be. I celebrate my students. I don't know what my life would be if I were not a lecturer. They encourage me, they challenge me, they make me to be a better version of myself, and they keep me on my toes too. I celebrate all the young people who work with me, on gender advocacy, on mental health, on anything communication. Like I said, I have a wonderful team. So shout out to all of them. I don't want to be calling their names one by one, otherwise we won't live here. But they know themselves, and I know that if we devote more time to this, we can. I was going to say we can change the world, but maybe let's say we'll change the world one person at a time that we encounter with relevant
Yeah.
information about gender, about health, and all the other things that we advocate for. And thank
Well,
you too for making this happen today.
well, thank you so much, Ma. Thank you. We really, really appreciate. Okay, everyone. This is the size of the show. Apologies, we couldn't start immediately at 6 p.m., but the video will still be there for you to watch. You can share with friends. It's on YouTube and Facebook, and it's Shagalinko TV. We really want to thank our guest, Dr. Olayinka Egbokhare, for also finding time, in spite of her always being very busy, to still give us this time to just talk with her. It's been really, really amazing, Ma. And I really want to say thank you so much for being there for us in this 16 days of activism. Well, you've heard it from our guest. Please speak up, look for professional help. I like the fact where she talked about people seeking help. So it's not just for, I know people are religious and they want to go see their daddies, mommy geos and all of that, but also seek professional help. Look for psychotherapy, um, talk to a counselor, a professional counselor. Therapy is also something people shy away from. They feel that, oh, the person they crazy or something, but then you need all of this. So please, and there are also NGOs, organizations that do some of these things for free. I know seeking some of these services might cost a fortune, but then there are organizations who also offer these services. You can also reach out to Dr. Bukhari, and you could still get some advice there. Anyway, thank you all for finding time to join us. I wish we could just go on and on and on, but God willing, I'll still bring her some other time, maybe after these 16 days of activism, and we could talk more on the effects of GBV, especially with the victims angle. Okay. So thank you all for watching. Till I see you all on the other side. Stay blessed and have a beautiful, beautiful evening. Good night, everyone, and bye bye.